Hello, my friend. Welcome to my show, Chronicles of a Learner RN, and thank you for listening. My name's Ritika, and I'm a registered nurse working out of Melbourne, bringing my experiences and learnings to a wider audience. Today, we'll be talking about postgrad. Pretty much the reason I started this whole little podcast thing. We'll talk about my experiences during postgrad, the uni work, sort of to expect if you decide to go the postgrad route. Just a disclaimer, this is very, very broad sort of information. Different unis, different hospital systems, all will have different experiences and teachings to give with the uni they choose. But anyway, let's get started. So I did my postgrad through Monash Uni because it was the first, I did it like the semester 1 of the calendar year. It was based at Peninsula. So I didn't go because it's a bit far for me and it's not really worth it. The difference between undergrad and postgrad, though, is that postgrad you have to do alongside work, so it's a part-time sort of study option. I say option, but you don't really get an option. It's part-time or nothing, because especially at my work, you still have to stay at point 8 EFT. Just ignore that last bit. And then do the uni on top of that. So you're still working 8 shifts a fortnight and going to uni. Now, that being said, the great thing about part-time uni, especially in this very specific course, is that it is once a week for the first 3 weeks, and then becomes once a fortnight, a 9 to 5 gig. Ours is on a Wednesday. If you do like semester 2, it'd be a Thursday every week or every fortnight. So it actually wasn't too bad to manage. Plus, you didn't actually have to go to work. You got the study leave to attend, I say that in quotations, the online lectures. So you still get paid for it, and you actually only end up working 7 shifts a fortnight, which in my book is kind of a win. Another thing about postgrad, and this is very specific to the hospital I work at, but it could be, I know it's not given in other hospitals in my health service, but it could be given at other health services, is that the first 6 months of our postgrad, because it's so intense, we don't actually get any night shift allocations for 6 months. Mind you, like, it was lovely not having to do night shift every 6 weeks. To be fair, by the end of it, I did actually miss the night shifts. So I ended up picking up a few, which sort of defeats the purpose, but I guess to each their own. Everyone's got a love or hate relationship with night shift. I just tend to have a love and a hate relationship with night shift. But yeah, that on top of in semester 1, since you're really, really sort of beginning, until you do your patient assessment and ALS by the end of semester 1, you can't actually be independent in resus. So all of your resus shifts are sort of picked in advance, and then you're with an educator for the whole shift. That way, because they are ALS trained and stuff, if anything happens, they've got, they're in ratio, technically, for quick care, so trained people. But once you do your ALS, in a lot of hospital systems, and this is just from what I've heard, this is not how it's done in my hospital, but once you've done your ALS sort of at the start of the semester, you're actually independent in resus. My educators do it sort of differently, and I'm actually very thankful to them for it. They don't let us be independent until after we finish our patient assessment, which is at the end of the semester. That gives us pretty much 6 months of, supported shifts. Whereas a lot of hospitals, they do 1 or 2 supported shifts, get their ALS out of the way, and bam, they're independent in resus. And that sounds cool at the time when all these people are like, yeah, I'm independent in resus. And you and your colleagues are still like, well, ours is still getting sort of rostered for us, and we still have to be with educators. But in the long run, it actually is worth it because you've had that time to consolidate your knowledge and have someone really close by to ask questions to not having to sort of worry that you're doing the wrong thing. And I found that really, really helpful going into second semester and being independent in resus, because I still have that sort of confidence to ask questions. May not be to an educator, but to the CNSs and the CCRNs around me, I still ask a lot of questions, which I think is a good thing. That being said, in semester 2, and I spoke about this in our last episode, I won't say last week because it's been an incredibly long time since I uploaded the triage episode, but compared to the support we got in resus, the support we get at triage is significantly less. We get 5 rostered shifts. If you hadn't heard that one, I'll give just a brief summary. We get 5 rostered shifts. 2 of them are like 1-to-1. Like, so I had one of my educators with me, and she would be at triage. Like, in this little corner where the security sits, she would sit there with her computer, and if I needed any help, she was literally right there. I could ask her. And then the last 3, there was an educator rostered, but they were not 1-to-1 with me. So they would say be 1-to-1 with another learner like TSP or first semester postgrad or a grad, anyone really that isn't me. But if I needed help, they were very close by. I could just give them a call and they would come and they'd sort of help me out. Once those 5 shifts were over though, I was on my own. That being said, when my 5 shifts were over, I think I had one, we call it a HL. It's just sort of 9 to 5 gigs. It's an 8:30 to 5 p.m. shift, specifically for triage. And I think I had maybe one of those, and then I went on to nights. And then because I'm postgrad, I don't get put at triage on nights because I'm still obviously very new. And if I'm at triage on my own at night, that's not really ideal. So I didn't get triage for 2 weeks because I was on nights. Then I went on leave for 2 weeks. And then I had like an extended week back into work, which all up made like 2.5 weeks. So for 4.5 weeks, I wasn't at triage, and now I'm back at triage. You know, fresh off that education boat into 4.5 weeks off, and now I'm back unsupported. But to be fair, I think in my 3 shifts back on, 2 of them went at triage. So it was okay. Like, I'm getting back into the swing of things. But that I thought was a little, because I had to do 1 postgrad at a time each week, and I was second last. So people in my cohort had been doing triage for 5 weeks by the time I got to my first few triage shifts, which, logistics, I can't really comment on that. But anyway, that was my experience of postgrad at work. It was a very, very supportive environment. Don't have to do any assessments, like work-based assessments, except for the assessments that uni wanted. So like the patient assessment and some competencies, which I don't think I've actually done any this semester between you and me. But we'll see how we go. I think, because we talked about it with the educator. We didn't actually do it because we had so little time in resus supported. You see what I'm getting at? Anyway, uni itself was eye-opening. This is my first time going to Monash Uni, and I have to say, it didn't meet my expectations. Maybe because I'm used to learning in sort of a chopped up fashion, that this 9 to 5 sort of, you start in the morning, you finish in the afternoon, and they just chuck all this information at you sort of format was a bit off for me. I just found it very repetitive. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Like, the content itself was actually quite interesting. Like, I learnt a lot from the units that I've done this year. It's just that when you go watch and participate in the lectures, not that I participated, but when you go and watch, they're quite literally just reading off the slides, which sort of defeats the purpose of going. Now, there's a caveat to that. There are some lecturers that we did sort of guest lecturers and some regular lecturers that would actually make it more interactive through quizzes and case studies. Not case studies where you have to go out into breakout rooms or whatever they're called, do it and come back. But like case studies we do as a group, and they'd have like multiple choice questions or anonymous sort of short answer formats where you didn't actually have to verbally participate to be able to participate. Those sessions I found very enjoyable and very worthwhile, but unfortunately the majority of them were not like that. They'd read through the slides, they'd have case studies, they'd put us into groups. One or two people would do the actual case study. I would conveniently be not present. But anyway, I did the case studies in my own time as exam revision because I feel like that would be a better use of my time. Because they gave answers after the class. So, but anyway, that was uni. The assignments at uni were... I prefer writing essays, even though I'm not terrible, but I'm not amazing. I would still prefer writing essays over recording a video. Because if you think about it, to record a video or PowerPoint presentation or whatever, you're still writing an essay and then speaking that essay and writing your references, but only now you've got extra work. You've got to record it and you've got to make the PowerPoint presentation. It's not my forte. We had to do it in the first semester because it was an option to do it in the second semester. Wasn't a vibe, to be honest. I'd prefer to write essays, which is what I did in the second semester. I wrote a 3,000 word essay instead of recording a 15-minute video. And I would prefer a 3,000 word essay any day over recording a video. But assignment-wise, they were pretty... I think maybe only one of them was not very... what's the word? Not very relevant. That was one on neonatal sepsis. Now, for some hospitals, some hospital services, that would be extremely relevant. But the hospital I work at, we do not see neonates. If we do, we ship them off to the 2 other hospitals in our service that do. So, that being said, we do pediatrics. Like, we have a pediatric ED area and a pediatric short stay, which is just short stay. But we have kids curtains. Anyway, we do some peds, but very serious peds that need sort of admission or theatre or even ICU. ICU we'd send off to the Royal Children's or Monash. But kids that need admission, just your standard ward admission, we still don't treat at my hospital. We might keep them in short stay for a day or 2 to see how they fare and then make the decision that they need admission. But I think that sort of workflow, they've been trying to change that for a little while now. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is going to be a quick one. I'm just sort of going with the flow here. Don't really know what else to talk about with postgrad. Is it worth it? I think, and mind you, some hospitals don't require you to do postgrad to be a critical care registered nurse. Some hospitals, especially in Victoria, I think I have heard a few, that you just need to do ALS to be able to work in resus. Now, I personally have nothing wrong with that except for the fact that if I had not learnt all of this information that I had and this extra critical thinking skills that have come with the advanced sort of anatomy, physiology, and disease process knowledge I've gained from postgrad. Oh, and I just did ALS and nothing else, I would not be confident working in resus. Because there have been so many cases where I actually have had to use the information I have learnt during postgrad to effectively advocate for my patient, effectively treat my patient, and it's a not a very nice thing to say, but sometimes doctors do make mistakes, and if I had not sort of gone down that advanced path, I would not have, you'd be blindly giving medications and treatments without knowing what they do. So I'm really thankful for all of the learnings I've had over these past 12 months. 12 months, we're only in November. More like 10 months. But yeah, I think if it's an option within your health service or your hospital in particular, and resus and triage are really where you want to go, I'd say do it. It's a tough 12 months, but I'm sure you'd have some good people around you, good colleagues that are doing it with you, good colleagues that have already done it, colleagues that are 1 semester ahead, 2 semester ahead that can give you advice. There's just an endless reservoir of support available to you because all of the crit cares would have done it. And then, like in my hospital, there's only about maybe 3 or 4 years that they've been doing it at Monash. So some of the older crit cares have actually done it at a different uni. So bringing different sort of perspectives to the table, different learnings, different styles of teaching, it makes it worthwhile. And yeah. And like, think of it this way. Once you've done your grad cert, you don't have to do anything ever again. You can if you want to. You can go into your grad dip, you can grow into your masters. But it's not essential. Like, if you want to stay CCRN CNS, that's fine. Grad cert is all you have to do, and you're out of uni forever. That being said, I wouldn't wait too long to do postgrad because it is very hard to get back into the swing of learning once you've been out of it for a long time. And that scrutiny of having an educator around can be a little daunting for those that have been RNs and independent for years and years and years. For me, it was pretty easy. I only took 6 months off. That was because I didn't think I was ready during TSP when the mid-year intake came out. And then by the time TSP had finished, I was like, oh, well, I could have done that. That's my fault for not being prepared during the intake. That's all right. 6 months off, no educator scrutiny. Floating wherever I need to go was actually very lovely. So, but yeah, that's it for this episode. I'm very sorry. It's really all over the place. But I like to think of it as you and me having a conversation about postgrad. Something you'll probably never do. But that's alright, you can just skip. Just skip this one if you want. But anyway, I'm going to end with my spiel now. So that wraps up this episode of my show, Chronicles of a Learner RN. I certainly have learnt a lot, and I hope you have too. I have a plethora of cases and learning experiences I'm excited to share with those of you that are willing to listen. If you enjoy what I do, what I say, and what I can bring to the table, then please comment, rate, subscribe to the podcast. It means a lot. Thank you very much, and see you next time.